what Michael's getting at is the burden of proof is an important one to remind everyone. It's on the prosecution, right? They need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that Donald Trump broke the law. And you think, after listening to all of this, you think they fell short? How?
They fell way short, because let's start with reasonable doubt. What is reasonable doubt? And it's not simply a doubt based upon reason. Anytime a human being needs to make an important decision in life, if you have enough information, for example, doctor says you need open heart surgery. Doc, go ahead and schedule. I don't have a reasonable doubt. Conversely, if I say, I appreciate it, but I need a second opinion, I need more information, that is having a reasonable doubt. There is reasonable doubt all over this case. Where is Keith Schiller? Where is Alan Weisselberg? How did Michael Cohen get away with stealing $30,000? Hold a pity party for him. Made $4 million on this. Thought he'd be chief of staff. He's a fixer. If the plumber comes to my house to fix my leak, I could be home. That doesn't mean I know how he's doing it and what it's taking to be fixed. Stormy Daniels, let's hold a pity party for her. It's simply about, did the former president know that books, his records, false entries, for legal fees, Michael Cohen was his lawyer. Did he intend to cover up the election or to protect his family? It's everywhere.
When Randy gets to whisper tones, I start getting concerned.
Under Trump, this kind of government will perish from the earth.
Which would be a good thing. The type of government that run up inflation, that just print money, going into debt, letting illegal aliens come into our country, DEI, diversity, inclusion, and delusion. They're pushing all this trans stuff on our kids. Yeah, I hope that it dissolves.
I don't mean to scare you. No, wait, maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye.
Which
that
ones?
We all take for granted.
Which ones?
And elections, forget about it.
He is an idiot. This dude is so ignorant to me.
That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave.
He will never leave. He left already. What are you saying, bro? You're a grown man.
You are gangsters. You are gangsters. Fuck you.
You're a thug. All he did was play thugs in movies.
You can see how some of the deck has been stacked against Donald Trump. The jury, of course, largely from, or all from Manhattan, 90% of which voted for Joe Biden. We know that, too. So the cake is baked on the biases here. The American people, though, fundamentally, they like and want fairness. If they perceive this to be unfair, it's going to blow up in the Democrats' face. And now you have Joe Biden saying he's going to comment on this trial from the White House. Not to mention the fact he went out today and had like a campaign rally with Robert De Niro kind of brushing Trump back and trying to go after Trump. He has made this political, a massive misstep by the Biden campaign and the Biden White House. It reeks of unfairness. The American people reject that in all forms.
Hogan Gidley, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
John, that it began, but apparently it's 44 days. You cracked the numbers. You've run the numbers. All right, let's take a look here. Think Trump did something illegal in the New York hush money case. I've been interested in whether or not these numbers would change at all during the course of this trial. Simply put, John, they have not. Pre-opening statements think Trump did something illegal, 46%. After the direct examination of Michael Cohen by the prosecution, look at where we are now, 46%. The percentage of Americans who think that the charges are very serious, in fact, dropped from 40% to a little bit more than 35% during the course of this trial. So, yes, perhaps things might have changed with those 12 jurors, but when it comes to the larger American public, there has been no change, at least so far, John.
Any possible reasons why?
Yeah, I think the question is, what's exactly cooking here? Why hasn't there been much of a change? Well, folks like you and me, real news junkies, might be paying really close attention to what's going on. The fact is, most Americans don't really care that much. So closely following news about economy, inflation, that's number one at 65%. Look at immigration, 52%. Election legitimacy, 49%. Abortion, 47%. All the way down on this list of issues tested by the Ipsos Knowledge Panel is Trump's court cases at 44%. 2%, significantly less than economy inflation. The fact is, John, when we're looking at these numbers, what we see is Americans' minds aren't changing, and a big reason why Americans' minds aren't changing is at this particular point, John, they are tuned out of the conversation.
Thank you very much. I would say, in listening to the charges from the judge, who's, as you know, very conflicted and corrupt, because of the confliction, very, very corrupt. Mother Teresa could not beat these charges. These charges are rigged. The whole thing is rigged. The whole country's a mess between the borders and fake elections, and you have a trial like this where the judge is so conflicted he can't breathe. He's got to do his job. And it's not for me, that I can tell you. It's a disgrace. And I mean that. Mother Teresa could not beat those charges, but we'll see. We'll see how we do. It's a very disgraceful situation. Every single legal scholar and expert said this is no case. It shouldn't be brought, and it certainly could have been brought 7 years ago, not in the middle of a presidential election. It was all done by Joe Biden. This judge contributed to Joe Biden, and far worse than that, but I'm not allowed to talk about it because I have a gag order. Far worse than that, by 1,000 times worse than that. The worst I've ever heard, but I can't talk about it. It'll be talked about, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. But it'll be talked about in the history books. What's happening here is weaponization at a level that nobody's seen before, ever. And it shouldn't be allowed to happen. So I'll stay around here. This is 5 weeks. And 5 weeks of really essentially not campaigning, although I took a big lead in the polls over the last few weeks. Something's going on. Because I think the people of this country see that this is a rigged deal. It's a weaponized deal for the Democrats to hit their political opponent. For Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States. He's destroying our country. He's letting millions of people from jails, from prisons, from insane asylums, from mental institutions, drug dealers pour in. Venezuela, if you look at their crime statistics, they've gone down 72% in crime because they're releasing all their criminals into our country because of this horrible president that we have. And then they have a protest of Robert De Niro yesterday. He's a fool. He's a broken down fool standing out there. And he got maggot. He got maggot yesterday. He got a big dose of it. But I just want to say it's a very unfair trial. It should have never happened. If it was going to happen, it should have happened 7 years ago. As you know, Bragg didn't want to bring it. The Southern District didn't bring it. The FEC didn't bring it. This judge didn't even let us use the #1 election attorney. He's making the rules. He doesn't know anything about elections. He doesn't know anything about voting and vote counts. He doesn't know anything about this stuff. That's not his profession. We had the leading election expert in the country, Brad Smith, ready to testify. Wouldn't let him do it. They wouldn't let another gentleman who represented, and you know very well, you saw it. It was the worst I think I've ever seen anyone treated on the stand. Bob Costello, wouldn't let him talk about all of the hundreds of emails that he was sent by a gentleman, another gentleman, who I can't mention because I'm gagged. Every time I speak to you, you ask me simple questions. I'm not allowed to give you the answer because I'm gagged by this judge. But we have a very, very serious problem here. I mean, our country's going bad. And remember, and let me just leave you with this. This is all because of Joe Biden and I don't even think it's him. I don't think he's smart enough to think about it. But it's the people that surround him in the office. They're smart. They're fascists, they're communists, but they're smart. And they're ruining our country. But we're going to win this election. November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. We're going to take back our country from these fascists and these thugs that are destroying us with inflation and with everything they do, how stupid they are, allowing 15, 16, 17 million people into our country, totally unvetted, totally unchecked. We're going to bring back our nation November 5th. Remember, most important day in the history of our country. In the meantime, this trial is rigged. Thank you.